Story 1. My husband's mistress doesn't know that we are three women in that relationship. I won't tell her that. About 4 years ago I discovered that my husband is cheating on me with the typical cliché of a stupid young girl who is barely out of college and tries to climb to a higher position by sleeping with the new boss. Almost 4 years have passed and she continues to earn the same in the same position. Maybe someday she'll realize she's wasting her time with my idiot husband. Anyway, I've always known about that secret relationship, but I won't say anything for the simple fact that I'd rather be a cuckold with money until all my kids turns 18 and I can leave than a cuckold who has to pay a loan for some blood-sucking lawyers and has to go rent a small apartment with 4 children. The other big reason is that if I get divorced and he marries that woman, I won't let my children spend time with a woman who clearly will fill their heads with bad ideas about me. She hates me even if I don't know her. I don't want my kids to be forced with someone who maybe will hate them too. I don't even know if that woman will treat them badly and they're minors. They would be forced to spend time with her because my husband could easily have most of the custody because he earns more than me. I don't want that. I want to still have my kids with me. I prefer to save myself the headache of making a scandal that is going to affect my children. My husband is an easy cock, but he hides it very well. He treats me like he loves me, loves the kids, and most of all I have full access to all credit cards as always. I am going to divorce him when the last of my children reaches the age of majority so like that I can avoid shared custody with him. Children will be adults to understand things that a small child would not understand. Anyway, his mistress is very stupid and I don't say it just because she fucks my husband, she is because she just fell in love with that moron who doesn't give her anything good in return. She sends him messages such as, "Do you prefer me over your wife? You are going to leave her, right? I want us to be together. You don't sleep with her anymore, do you? Treat her badly. Your wife is an ugly witch. I'm sure I feel better, doesn't it?" My husband's replies to those messages are just, "Yes, I treat her badly as you told me. I don't touch her anymore. We'll be together soon, etc." But it's all a lie. He has never treated me badly. He is a totally loving man with me even now. We have never stopped sleeping together. I don't want him to suspect that I know anything even though we have intimacy every Pope's death because I don't want to. I think it's obvious that if he didn't get divorced in 4 years, it's because he doesn't intend to. Anyway, that silly girl seems to be really in love with him and thinks he loves her. She does everything for him. Recently I discovered that he has another mistress. He says the same thing to this girl, but she is smarter because she only asks for gifts and that's it. From the messages I read, they don't seem to have a relationship beyond the monetary because she's pretty cold. I guess she wants more expensive gifts, but my husband can't spend too much or I would notice that. She's smart. On the other hand, the first mistress is totally convinced that my husband sleeps only with her and no one else, that he treats me badly and they are going to live together in a castle of clouds. She doesn't know we're almost in harem and she's not even the favorite concubine at this point. Edit: no, I didn't marry with him for money and I really loved him. When we meet he wasn't rich and he is not rich now neither. We just have a good life. Yes, I've been saving money. I'm prepared for anything else that might happen and I know this might not go perfectly. I have other plans if things don't go my way, but ideally this would continue like this. About how I feel: I'm relaxed. My life is normal even if I know this. I have a good relationship with my husband although it is hard to believe. He is an idiot but it is easy to hide the true feelings. People always does that. I don't feel anything for him anymore so it's much easier to me talk with him. We're not cold with each other or anything like that. I no longer feel anger for him but for my own situation. I go to therapy and I have my own trips that makes me happy. I don't want another relationship either. I'm not too interested in that. I prefer to travel. This is the most I can do to take care of my children and have them with me. If I can give one piece of advice to anyone: always work and have your own money. Even if you're a som, try to do something to gain a little bit of money. Also, don't fall in love with married men either. They're just going to use you. It's something I learned reading those messages. They just enjoy being desired but doesn't desire anyone else than themselves. And for those who comments that I'm an idiot or a doormat, I congratulate you for having the privilege of being able to divorce whenever you want and keep your kids. Because yes, that is a privilege that not many of us have. I love myself but my kids will always come first to me. Fateless 115 says, Jesus, who the hell has the time for one mistress, much less two? I feel like I never get enough time with my wife and kids. @Zaposm_Kuryu says, can you make an update in years when your last kid graduate please? Also Notice Spider says, how long do you have left before the kids turn 18? Story 2, my sister's passing was the best thing that happened to her toddler. This is going to sound horrible but hear me out. My sister was a drug addict and a bad person. She had a mental illness that she didn't want help with and instead thought that drugs and yoga and crystals would cure her. I loved her dearly as my sister and she had her moments of being a nice and caring person but for the most part she was a mess. She had a son through one night stand with some other drug addict. She did not show much interest in raising him and basically let him do whatever he want. She did at least feed him and whatnot, but that kid was completely out of control. One Christmas morning she committed suicide. She didn't leave any note or explanation. Just did it. Her 4-year-old son was now basically an orphan since his loser dad was and still is in prison. This was 10 years ago. My older brother adopted the boy and raised him as his own. He is now an outstanding student, incredibly good at basketball and overall has a bright future. Thanks to my brother who put in tremendous effort and love into raising him. Had my sister stayed, I imagine this kid would be on a much darker path. But there is no way of knowing. I do still miss her. Midlife_crisis_46 says, I don't think this is horrible. Sometimes the truth is just hard. You can love her sister, she can be kind and also not be a good mother. All these things can be true. I'm sorry for your loss. Borderline Ginger says, my first husband was an addict. He passed over 5 years ago. He couldn't stay clean. Couldn't keep a job. I don't think he paid more than one single month of child support ever. Today I'm remarried. My children have stability, safety, freedom. And I get regular checks from Social Security. My children have a way better life because he OD'd. Is that harsh? Absolutely. But it's also true. And that's okay. We aren't glad he's dead, but we recognize we would still be held prisoner with him because of his addiction if he were still alive. My oldest misses him and we honor that. But we also honor the reality of the situation. And that's okay. Princess Bella once says, unfortunately, mental illness complicated by drug addiction is horrible and your sister unfortunately felt like she had no choice. The silver lining is that your brother was able to take care of your nephew and give him the life that he deserves. It is okay to miss your sister, but she left you a great gift. Your nephew. Kudos to your brother for stepping up. Story 3, I helped my student cheat on exams, and I'm not sorry for that. I thought this post would get maybe 5 comments and 4 of them would be sarcastic ways of saying you suck because you cheated. Clearly, that's not how most of you feel, so thank you for the uplifting comments. I also appreciate the dissenting opinions. Thanks for sharing. I am a grad student and I'm a TA for a calculus professor. Karina was one of my students. Karina failed this class twice and was trying again over the summer. This was the last math course required for her major. The school's policy is that you get 3 chances to pass a class. Karina was desperate and I really wanted to help her. From day one, she put in the effort. Every week, she came to my office hours early and stayed past the end. We did so many practice questions together. I tried to explain things to her in so many different ways. I brought in other grad students to help her visualize things. We tried to use real-world examples about marine biology based on the given rate of change, how long it will take for water to drain from this salt marsh, stuff like that. None of it helped. She was still on the verge of failing the class. I personally think it's silly how she's required to take calculus as a marine biology major. In the future, let's say she needs to estimate how long it will take for water to drain from the salt marshes on Florida's Gulf Coast during low tides. She can use plenty of tools to help with that. When she's a marine biologist, she will not need to solve calculus problems by hand on a closed book test. She's actually a really good student in all her other subjects. Calculus just wasn't her thing no matter how hard she tried. I know some people think this is impossible, like if you try hard enough, you can accomplish anything, but that's not always true. Before the first midterm, Karina asked for extra help. I told her I could meet her over the weekend. We met at an obscure coffee shop about 20 minutes away. The TAs and the professor wrote the exams together, so I had them with me. I helped Karina practice the exact questions that would be on the test. I gave her the questions one by one and made her repeat them. I think she caught on to what I was doing. We went over each question so many times that she had them memorized like a poem. For the final, I helped her study the exact same way. Our exams had bonus questions that she didn't do, so she didn't set the curve, but she got one of the highest grades. She passed the class. She can continue now as a marine biologist and she never has to take calculus again. I know this was unfair to the other students, but am not sorry for doing it. I gave Karina a fighting chance. I want to help my students succeed, even if it means playing the game a little differently. I still see Karina around. She says she will be forever grateful for my help. She says if it hadn't been for me, she might have abandoned her dreams of being a marine biologist. Harry_signal_6225 says, is it possible she had dyscalculia? I actually had similar issues and couldn't even solve or understand basic math problems no matter how hard I tried. It's very similar to dyslexia but for math. Lady Mystery says, higher level math should never be a closed book test. At the very least, you should be allowed a formula sheet even if you have it. If you don't know which one to use, you're not doing well. No employer is ever going to say how fast will this marsh drain. Do it from memory. Ever. Mario Friendly says, this is an excellent example of using a position of power for good. Thanks for watching. I love you. Follow Reddit Echoes for more.